You're listening to the SojuSessions, episode 41 on the Soju Talk Nation podcast feed. I'm your host, Crispy, also known as Crispy Wonton or simply just Anton. And on today's episode, Aura returns to the show on this very special Valentine's edition of the SojuSessions. As I was putting together the show this week, I looked at the calendar and I realized we are in the middle of February, and February 14th is coming up, but we record after that day. So I figured this week we'd get ahead of it. We talk a little romance. We talk a little armchair psychology. We talk a little bit of past relationship and dating stories, all kind of framed around Jamie's brand new release with Pity Party, transitioning into the episode on Dive Studios from last year where Jamie, BM, Peniel, and Ashley talked about romance. I believe that's episode 33 of Dive Studios, so check that out as well. And yeah, we kind of just went in deep, kind of a really deep dating story, dating exploration, talking about relationships. It was kind of like therapy for me too. I pulled a lot of psychology tidbits from just the things that I've learned over my life, the things that I've studied in school. I am not a trained professional, but, I think there is a level of scientific understanding that I've been able to gain over the course of my life. By no means take any of my advice if it doesn't apply to you, but I hope you're able to gain something out of this. I hope some part of your life was illuminated in some way. But yeah, Aura did a nice job of sticking with it, being a real trooper with all the different things I threw at her and all the questions about her past love life. So shout out to her for being a trooper there. All right, let's jump into it. Coming up, my chat with Aura on the Soju Sessions. Joining Soju Sessions this week on Valentine's Day, our Valentine's Day episode, taking a break from partying, hitting up clubs, drinking all of the alcohol, and being that girl out on the street waiting for her Uber, frozen after the party. She found her way back home. We're happy she's safe, but now we're here to talk about love and romance. Welcome to the show, Aura.
Hi, thank you.
You are very welcome. I'm very excited for today's show. We've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. We're going to start with K-pop talk, though. Jamie released a new song. She came back this week, and it prompted some thoughts, some discussion in my head about what I wanted to talk about with regards to her. Let's focus in on her song. You got Pity Party. A very cool, funky, retro, disco-y song. Aura, let me get your thoughts on this. Yeah. What are your first impressions about the song? How do you feel like it hit? And how do you feel like Jamie captures this trend? A little bit late to the trend, but I think she did it very unique in her own way. How do you think it all played out?
I honestly feel like it was kind of like, judging like from her previous tracks, like Apollo 11, No Numbers, those tracks, I feel like this was a different type, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I loved watching the music video. Obviously, Jamie is so pretty. Oh gosh. And yeah, like it was really fun to watch, and also like just seeing like a different side of her compared to like Apollo 11, which was like such a chill song. Even No Numbers, like the music video was good, but this was a different level.
There was a really Lady Gaga feel to the song for me. I got like the early Lady Gaga disco vibes, not necessarily like runway house, but in that EDM disco electric sense to it, right? Especially the way she sings. I think she definitely flexed where we kind of knew her as a singer, back in the day with Beck It In. But you get to really hear it in the build up to the chorus, right? Where she gets to flex, she gets to belt things out. And then it's complemented very well by how she goes in and out of the verses. And I thought those things all worked really well. Excuse me. But there was an element of the song that I felt like was missing a little bit of punch. I was kind of expecting a little bit more. And they did bring this up on the main show this week. So I do want to give props and shout out to Warren, Doug, and Anita for having this kind of be the counterpoint to the song is the chorus. So it does switch it up a little bit. It's kind of a whisper melody, and the chorus does feel like it's very similar the way they use it 3 times in the song. For me, by the time we got to the 3rd time, it made the song end in a less than energetic way for me. So the song kind of just mellowed out as opposed to it being like a high energy kind of way to end it, kind of matching the belting nature of her vocals. What did you think about the chorus and how it was used throughout the song?
I feel like when I listen to it on Spotify without the music video, I definitely do get tired towards the end. But if I'm like watching on YouTube or like watching on TikTok, then I feel like it's okay just because there's something like a visual accompanying it. Other than that, I actually didn't realize it was fully English until I watched the music video. I don't know why, I just assumed like it would have like some Korean lyrics to it. But yeah, it was really good.
I think we're just used to putting a song on, especially with K-pop, and then assuming that it's in Korean, even if we're only hearing it in English. I think I get stuck in that too sometimes. You made a great point about the music video being a great pair for the song. I think the energy and the visual aspect and the story of the music video matched really well. Again, like kind of the darker Lady Gaga vibes. This long table, this kind of I don't know, like high class, but then like dark and gothic at the same time because they're at like this dinner table.
Yeah, exactly. And like this time around, her makeup was so dark. Like even her clothes were so like dark colors, everything, which was really contrasting her previous music videos. Like No Numbers was so light, like she was wearing like pastel colors, and then this one she was wearing really dark ones. So it was like a huge switch up.
Yeah, I think contrast is a great way to frame what we're seeing and then the song itself, right? Because it does have that kind of energy to it. You do kind of expect a little bit more, like I said, like a runway house type of setting, but it's in this like very gothic dinner table scene where you have this guy who represents her ex, and she's doing things to him. She's drugging him and then having him write his apology, I believe is what's happening. Something like that.
Yeah, and then taking out his eyes, and then the money. Like I was,
there has to be some kind of metaphor about like seeing her for who she really is, right? With the eye, and then of course money because she is able to support herself financially because she's an entertainer and all. So what does that mean as far as what the other person values? I feel like she's going really deep with her personal experiences with this song. And like kind of putting her ex-boyfriend or exes on blast, or in this sense, kind of saying that maybe she's the toxic one. What did you think about the message that in the lyrics about her saying, "All my exes tell me I'm toxic"? Do you feel like it's a her ex's problem? It's a she's choosing bad partners problem, or is it perhaps Jamie is a little too spicy for a lot of people?
I feel like from the way that I know her, like from judging from like Variety and like all the other platforms that I know her from, like it's very, she may have been toxic in the past. So I think like she actually had a realization that she was toxic and tried to improve, because like you can see like a clear path of her like there is a slight change in her attitude over the years. And even like, yeah, I know I wasn't gonna mention the whole like Jay thing, but like just like she actually calls people out now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, I don't think she would have done that before. So I feel like now she's probably like changed a little bit, and obviously she's more self-aware.
I think that's a really pointed thing that you said about calling people out. And I think to kind of build off of that, it's maturation process, right? Where we've known her as a very confident person. And the fact that she is able to point people out is in line with kind of what we know about her as an entertainer, as a person in variety. But I also feel like it's a self-reflection where, yeah, she's calling people out, but she's also saying like, yeah, and I was also wrong in a lot of my past experiences, but I'm owning up to it. Now you do too. Need to too. Yeah, and I think that is all kind of reflected in many layers of the song, but ultimately the layer of it where she is calling herself out, taking ownership for her being toxic, but then also having fun with it, I think is all kind of a nice like artistic piece put together. So shout out to Jamie. Any closing thoughts you have on Pity Party?
I also wanted to mention just the line about like, I'm all the way down, the only way left is up from here. I think like it was something like that, but like that was such a good line. Like I know everyone says it, but at the same time, like in this song, it really highlighted how with a toxic ex, like, yeah, you really do reach pit bottom, but there's only up from here. So there's always going to be growth.
Yeah, growth and hope, right? Which is interesting messages to pull out of this song, but I do think it is there. And it's one of those where you have to kind of engage with what's presented and kind of read between the lines. But I do feel like that is always something Jamie is always striving for, whether it's her music or whether it's how she presents herself. She's learning from her experiences, but she also wants to express it in her unique way, which is a very Korean American, Western, mid-20s millennial, which we'll get into a little bit more about her firecracker nature, I suppose, in the next section. Great song. Everyone check it out. It did quite well this week on the server. Well, not the server, but on the main show. The main show did talk about it and did get a lot of votes from Doug and Anita. Well, got 2 votes from Doug and Anita. So shout out to Jamie putting her imprint on the show. All right, so let's move on to the main reason why we're all here. So Valentine's Day is February 14th every year, and I thought about doing. I was trying to think about shows that we could do this week, and I realized our recording falls after that day. So this week is going to be our Valentine's Day Palooza, our Valentine's Day romance special on the SojuSessions, and we're going to reflect a bit about Jamie on Get Real episode 33, I believe. We had Peniel, BM, and Ashley talk about romance and relationship. The episode is titled "Keep the Romance Alive." We're going to use it a little bit of a guiding light to our conversation, but we're going to kind of go off the rails. Aura, my first question for you is, then they asked this on the show. Ashley asked this: do you consider yourself a romantic?
Not really. No, like I'm not like big on like romantic gestures and all that stuff. And also like I don't know. I'm not like too big on it. But I do support people that are. So I'm always like down to like help a friend out for like a proposal or something, just not for myself.
I find
What about you?
I found it really interesting how they talked about it on the show. I mean, you had 2 perspectives of 2 guys and 2 girls. And the way that they responded to it was very characteristic of male and female, like contrast, right? Where you have BM, who is just, real simple in how he thought about things, sincere, but kind of lacked awareness to the situation. very very personal experience focused, or like this is how I saw it, this is what I thought what the solutions were. And it wasn't until someone told me I was wrong, or at least told me a different way to do it, that I saw otherwise. And then Peniel was just very straightforward. I think he's known as the robot, right? Where he's just like, that's just how it is. I don't know what to tell you.
I also feel like I don't remember how old BM is, but like Peniel just acts his age, so it's more like he's just he's had those experiences in life, and he's like, yeah, I know them. I'm just gonna act my age right now. I don't want to act immature.
I think BM's 30. I don't have that off the top of my head. I do remember I was talking about this with someone, with Zondi and Nina, I believe, and we did get the conclusion that he's a bit older, but he this sounds kind of wrong, but his mental age is a lot younger, right? Where he's 29.
Okay,
there, nice. So he's a little bit more immature. He's got that immature energy, but he's older, which is a nice, I don't know, a nice character trait. I think it just makes him a very approachable person in that sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then we do flip it.
I feel like.
Good.
No. I was just saying I like that BM is so chill, and then like there's Peniel, so like they balance each other out, and I really like it.
Yeah, it's very different sides of kind of the same perspective, right? Where it's a very male perspective. You understand where it's coming from. Very different from the way Ashley and Jamie talked about relationships. And I thought that was very telling, because it was this very characteristic. Two girls just wanted to chat about like everything, all the details, right? And I think that's what kind of makes separates like men and women about how they think about relationships. Maybe not how they approach things, but what they want to focus on and talk about in their relationships. And this kind of gets me to this idea of communication relationships, right? Where men and women just have very different ways of doing things, ways about expressing information and then receiving information. Ara, what are the important traits or aspects about communication in a relationship that you require as a person looking for love?
I feel like honesty is like definitely a big thing, and just being open. But I feel like my personality is that type where like even if somehow like I feel like there's an issue, unless I actually feel really comfortable talking about it, I don't think I'll talk about it. So I'll just bottle it up, and then I'll go ahead to my friends and I'll rant about it, which is like really, really bad because it doesn't actually help my relationship. So I need the other person to be a little bit more like, open and like just have those check-ins, which I know like you shouldn't have in a relationship, but like at the same time I really need those, because if nobody's going to ask me what's wrong or like how am I feeling, I'm not going to reply. So I need those. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I absolutely know what you're saying. Do you have any past experiences that reinforce a lot of those hesitancies to want to express that kind of your insecurities and the emotional things you're going through with a partner?
Yeah, I feel like my past relationships have definitely just led me to this. I feel like I just wasn't comfortable enough expressing myself in my past relationships. So like moving forward, this is something that like I really need, because I know how my last relationship ended. So I like for a new one to work, so I need this. So yeah, I feel like if that's not present, I don't think my relationship would work with someone.
Oh, that's a really important point to make about relationships, right? And oftentimes we like to think that relationships are this free-flowing, high passion, exciting time, where in a lot of cases there's a lot of emotional and psychological hoops that we have to jump through, and kind of understanding the needs of yourself and the other person. I think putting your needs kind of present is always very scary. It makes you very vulnerable. Sometimes it kind of makes you feel like, am I asking for too much? But honestly, if you don't have that conversation with the person that you're considering a partner, then there is a fundamental thing that needs to be worked on, because a relationship isn't just a friendship. A relationship requires a little bit more. Not to say that friendships aren't important. You have your friends, but you should also, at least in my experience, know the line of what is a friend, what is a good friend, what is a partner, and what is a good friend in a partner.
Yeah. Right? Also, like, just like, like, friends will tell you, like, maybe your standards are too high, but at the same time, like, you need to consider that, like, if a person doesn't meet your expectations and you already have expectations set for them, it is definitely not going to work out, because you're not even talking about those expectations with the other person. So it's just, you know your expectations, but does your partner know those expectations, and how are they going to meet them if you don't have that conversation?
Yeah, and it goes back to this idea of communication and language, right? I do feel like women in general, females in general, are more descriptive in how they tell stories and how they communicate, and just how they socially interact with people, right? Not just friends, but also within a relationship. And this often, I often like to think about how, men and women, boys and girls are raised differently, like socially accepted behavior. And it's interesting that you said that you bottle things up, because I also feel like that's just been commonplace for boys throughout their entire lives, right? This idea is that boys don't cry, we don't talk about our emotions, we don't share things, but we're subtle. We show our affection, or we show that we have emotional vulnerability through our actions, our gestures, and then it's been reinforced that you give gifts. My question for you is, how do you feel like those external forces have played out in your life with the men that you've met, whether they're potential partners, friends, and do you feel like some of that has kind of influenced and impacted the way that you see the world and that you approach relationships?
Yeah, I feel like I guess not really growing up, but like I've just related to like happy or like a good relationship as like somebody who receives a lot of gifts and like has like grand gestures, because I feel like that's what I've been seeing like since high school, and like like just our culture, like Canadian culture in general, is just looking at people, and like each romantic holiday, like you get gifts and you get big gestures. But I feel like for me, I don't think I realized that it's not the gifts that really matter. It's more just the time and like the effort. Like it just really matters to me, even though like it took me such a long time to actually realize that. I think that's one of like the biggest realizations.
It's what the gifts
I've actually had. Like I took the love. Yeah, I took the love languages test, and like so originally my first one was gift. Like the gift one was the biggest one, and then the second one was oh my god, what are the four ones? I forget. But basically like physical
I have
touch
them.
and like,
do you want them?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We have words of affirmation. We have quality time, acts of service, gifts, and physical touch.
Yeah, so basically, like, I think gifts was my first one, and then words of affirmation was my second one, and physical touch and act of service was like probably like my last one. And then I think I did it again yesterday after like Ashley or Jamie mentioned it in the Dye Studios thing, and now like my the quizzes changed so much that like it's basically all equal, and I don't understand how that can happen, considering like right now like I feel like my primary love language is probably quality time or something, which is I don't know, it's just really weird. I feel like it's such a weird time right now for me.
I'm going to kind of break the fourth wall a bit here. I wrote down on the love language section. As you know, I'm a fairly critical person when it comes to anything regarding social psychology and how people
Yeah.
assess themselves. I don't have a problem
Yes.
personally with people using it for fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fun fact. We actually had to use this in the workplace one time. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
really?
workplaces do this. It's a way to emotionally connect with people, to build up your emotional intelligence. So we took the love languages test, not necessarily to express romantic love with one another, but to understand the needs of someone else, right? To kind of give yourself perspective. And I thought that was an interesting application of it. However, people took it far too seriously. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but then when not you, but when people in general, use these 5 categories to fix themselves into these defined limitations of what it means to be a person, then I'm like, I'm gonna just let you enjoy that and just have a good time.
I think it's very like you don't need to take it too seriously, just because like 30 questions do not define what you are as a person.
Yeah.
So it's like like it's fun to know what your love language is and like what other people's love languages is. But I mean, everyone does all 5 of these things on a daily basis. So it's not sometimes you may do it more than others, and like it just depends on the situation and the person. So
yeah. And I think that's a very apt way to think about it, right? Where it's not something that you use as a shortcut to get to know someone, right? Or even to get to know yourself. It's that these things exist in the world. How do I make sense of them now that I have a defined way to look at them relative to this test, right? Which is fine. It's a good starting point. But then how do you expand yourself into the spectrum of ways you interact with the world and interact with other people? Again, to find out what you need as a person, and then hopefully to find out what your partner needs as a person. Yes, there's these 5 things that are very easy to categorize and understand, but it's also a spectrum. Means we all fall on one of these one way or another. And like you said, you are essentially all 5 of them because you're a very needy person. I'm a very needy person. I need all these things too. I'll admit it. I like gifts. I like when people do things for me. I like a massage or a hug once in a while. And I like being told that I'm doing a good job. Does that mean I like everything? Probably. But yeah, I think it's just, again, I think it's a very fun application of it. It did make me stop and pause when I was listening to the episode, because they did say there are therapy places where they have you take this test with your partner. I was thinking, that's not it.
Yeah. And also like how so basically like when they mentioned how couples take the love languages test to figure out why they're having fights, in my head I was like, fights are not primarily based on those things, but okay, like I don't know, that just threw me off a little.
no, and that's good that it did give you pause for concern, right? Because again, like you don't take a self-assessment found online to solve your issues in a relationship. That's what therapy is for. That's what couples counseling is for, with a professional who has done 10 years of academic work. That's what that's for, right? It's not that this test that you take to find all the answers. It's something you work at. It's a long-term project. That to me is what a relationship is. God, we're going so deep. All right, you're killing it. Let's spin it back a bit to gifts, right? And kind of this expression of love and romance in a very tangible way, and kind of the time of the year that we're at. Valentine's Day is the time that you see a lot of gift giving, flowers, chocolates. If you're in school, the adorable little Valentine's Day cards that you get in the box and you hand out to all your classmates. I feel like we should all go back to that time when we buy those boxes of Valentines and give those to the people around us. What do you think, Aura?
I think that's a great idea. Like I usually actually I don't remember last Valentine's Day, but like throughout high school, I think all my friends circle just ended up like sending each other Valentine's Day notes, because it was just like, friendship, Valentine's, we still express love, you know? So yeah, I think that was a fun time. And I mean, usually like even in university, we used to have like Valentine, so like celebrate with friends. And I think it's a nice way to connect and just take time out.
Yeah, I like the way that not some people, but the way that it's recontextualized in some spaces, right? Where it's not this very specific, like I'm going to show love and romance to one person. It's I'm going to self-reflect. I'm going to understand what it means to love myself and then love and appreciate the people around you. Not necessarily in a romantic way, but kind of in similar gestures. And I think that is kind of a nice spin off of the whole Valentine's Day tradition over the past, I would say, decade. It's been really popping off that kind of way. A lot of thanks to shows like Parks and Recreations to kind of like put that into perspective with Valentine's Day. I think that was the very first time I remember seeing it used in popular media in a very fun, positive way. I was gonna say body positive, but I mean it could also be like emotionally positive. That's the one I was looking for. How was Valentine's Day growing up for you? Being a kid, middle school, high school, but then also like you said, like in college, like how did Valentine's Day, the time of the year, evolve and change as you got older?
I think my family, like my brown family, was not very like big on Valentine's Day, just because like where I grew up, like I grew up in the UK and then India and then Canada. So like I mean, even all three, regardless of where we were, like my family didn't really celebrate Valentine's Day. And then I went to high school here, and my friends were very like, Valentine's Day chocolates, this, that. So then that's how I got into like Valentine's Day. And then when I ended up getting into a relationship, I think he made a bigger deal out of it than I did, because I was never really too big on it. So like I feel like it really just depends on how you grew up and like how the other people around you influence you. But when I got into university and like I actually got like a solid group of friends that I really liked enjoying spending time with, we decided that we would spend Valentine's Day together, just because it was so like it was a time to like just celebrate and like drink and party and that type of thing. So that's what I ended up doing in university.
Drink and party and that type of thing.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a theme with how you approach adult celebrations. I'm all for it. Please continue. We need more Aura stories. But no, for me, Valentine's Day growing up, in elementary school in particular, was just a time of the year to show affection to someone else, to your classroom specifically. So I remember my mom buying me, I think it was Pokemon one year, Star Wars one year. I can't remember the other ones. Ninja Turtles. So those boxes of like
Ninja Turtles.
30 like Valentine's Day cards with like a small message, and then you write your name on it.
Oh, really?
Do you remember those? Have you seen those? Those are amazing. Those little like Valentine's Day cards. And then
I have.
Yeah, so then our classroom, we'd have like a little bag with our name on it on our desk. We had a day to decorate it, and then we'd go around for like 30 minutes for our Valentine's Day party, and then drop off the note for everyone in our class. And we made sure that everyone got it, because it was all about including everyone. I do remember still as a kid like understanding social impact of things that you do. So of course, like your friends, you wrote like these elaborate things on the cards, like I really like playing video games with you, it was super fun, we should hang out again. And it's your guy friends. And then as you get older, you either decide to share that same amount of affection to your friends that are girls, again in elementary school, or stop because you realize you might get made fun of. That's where things start to change, when you get this conception of what romance represents, and it being a thing where you get made fun of, right? Not in a bad way, but
even in high school, even in high school, like I think we stopped like after a certain point, like maybe like like after like I got a lot of guy friends, I think I didn't really give out like those. We had like those secret Valentine's Day thingies where like on Valentine's Day like all the people would like go around to each classroom and then give out the notes. And I remember I don't think I actually wrote down a lot of notes for my guy friends just because like we don't really share like that much affection. Anyways, like it was just like, you know, like we hang out as friends, but we don't really talk about our issues like I do with my girl. So yeah.
Secret Valentine's Day. Oh man. Okay, now I have two stories.
Yes.
All right. So in high school, it was senior year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I got this money from. I still to this day cannot remember how I was able to find the money to buy 3 like nice roses. You know, like those individual roses,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like it was all like covered up with like baby's breath and stuff, so it looked bigger than it was, but it was just nice, one nice rose. And then I had a friend in first period who was an office assistant, so that was his elective that year.
Mm-hmm.
So he had like the best first period like of all time, where he hung out in the office and he just ran errands for the office and stuff. So I thought in my head like, oh, I'm gonna be super like this super cool like gestured person. So I bought 3 roses for 3 friends, right? One of which
Mm-hmm.
is like one of my like oldest friends. She's like one of my best friends throughout my entire life. So there was no possibility of romance. I will just put that out there. Okay. 1.
Yeah.
2, the second rose went to a friend who I still consider like a good friend to this day. We went to senior prom together. We were very close. Don't think that there was ever a possibility for us to date. But I think if I pressed the issue, or at least like attempted, and if I wasn't so
Mm-hmm.
afraid of myself, maybe there was. I don't know. Who's to say? I've actually never asked her about this. So if she does hear this, please tell me. I'd love to know. Perhaps that could have been a situation. And then the third rose went to someone who I don't think we ever had a chance together. I think there's some cultural differences. But you know, being
Right.
a senior, a 17-year-old kid who just wanted affection, we had this kind of chemistry, this kind of back and forth where we like bantered and like
Mm-hmm.
really talked crap to each other, but it felt very loving and affectionate. So I just felt very comfortable. I gave her 1,
Mm-hmm.
and all of these were delivered on first period. So it was like this like grand gesture. So they'd come into class.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have secret Valentines, but not in this way. Like the secret Valentines you get
Yeah.
from school was not like this like rose,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was this whole entire thing where every person got it, and it was just like, wow, I did that. I felt so cool. And then at the end of the day, I said like, oh, you got a rose. Who'd you get that from? And I think she kind of knew, but she wanted me to like admit to it. And I finally did. And then it was this nice exchange of like awkward, and then it
Oh
didn't
gosh.
lead to anything because, you know, we're 17-year-old children. So
Yeah.
that's one story. You know, as you get older, you kind of figure out better ways to express yourself, you would think. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I don't think I ever got good at doing those types of celebrations and things. Are there any experiences or examples from your adult life, or at least college life, of of a Valentine's Day experience that you felt went well?
What? Um. Honestly, half the time I can't even remember what I did for Valentine's Day, to be honest. Like, I only remember, like, high school. Like, yeah, my high school Valentine's, or, like, my senior year Valentine's. Because my boyfriend at the time, like, really just went all out. Like, because my friend circle, with, like, one of my best friends was also in a relationship, and, like, her boyfriend went to another school, so, like, they decided to, like, do something together, and then I think we all, like, went to the movies or something. But yeah, like most Valentine's Day, I try not to, because like it's just like, oh, whatever. Like I can get chocolates myself if I want chocolates, you know. But this year, my dad was very. I don't know. I feel like he's trying to be more conscious. So he was like, "What do you want?" Like he was like subtly trying to ask me And I was like, so why are you asking me this? Like, I don't really want anything from like Pandora or anything. And he's like, I was trying to get you and your mom a gift for Valentine's Day, but since I can't keep secrets, I'll just ask you what you want. And so like, we decided that I was just gonna get a necklace or something, and then he ended up getting me perfume too. But like the perfume was too strong, so he's like, "I'll return it. You can get whatever you want." And like this is like the first time in like God knows how long he's like actually tried to like get me something. Like yeah, obviously he gets me things for like my birthday and stuff, but like Valentine's Day is just a normal day for our family, so it's very weird this year.
That's very sweet. Where it's kind of flipped
Yeah,
for
he's so
your
sweet.
dad, right?
Yeah,
And that's another source of
yeah.
affection that I feel like does go overlooked oftentimes. We did talk about
Mm-hmm.
friendship relationships, but also like your
Yeah.
family is a source of that type of affection as well. And no,
Mm-hmm.
that's a very uplifting story. Um, I'm ready to drag it down. So
Yes.
my adult Valentine's Day situations have been
Yes. Oh.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just gonna like make audible noises to kind of delay me actually having to tell the story. So, um, someone I was in a relationship with,
Mm-hmm.
this is our early days. This is me getting to know them, me wanting to break in and just, hey, I'm here. Let's make it happen. So we both worked at a school, and
Mm-hmm.
she did like the after school program. I was, a teacher throughout the day, right? And she, had her classroom of kids who I knew very well. So the day before Valentine's Day, I bought, that box of like Valentine's Day cards for the classrooms to hand out to
Mm-hmm.
people. And what I did is I went to her after school program, class of
Mm-hmm.
kids, and I had them all write cards to her, like secretly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. All right. And so that the after school program kind of works where you're in one classroom, the kids are in one classroom for like half an hour to an hour, and then they rotate, right? Just because, they switch things around. So when they switched, that's when I got to that room of kids and said, all right, you guys write these. And then I got a
Mm-hmm.
mason jar and I put all of them in there. I threw some candy in there. And then on Valentine's Day, I had one of the kids deliver that present to her saying, "This is from us." So initially, of course, like it's like, oh, surprise, like this is very sweet. So I come up to her after school and I say, "Oh, I see you got a present from the classroom. What did you think about it? Very sweet." This is probably where I should have known that we're very different people. She was like, "Yeah, it was very nice of them," without
Yep.
like
Yep.
elaborating, right? But I could also tell like she appreciated it, but she just didn't elaborate. And then I look up, it's like, "Oh, did you look through all of them?" I was like, "Oh, I haven't had time yet." And I was like, "Oh, I put one in there." She goes, "Did you really?" Surprised, but then also like, "Oh, this is leading somewhere." And I says, "Actually, I was responsible for all of this." Saying it in the way that I would say, as you can see, like this is actually quite similar to like just how I interact with the world. So she thought it was funny, it was sweet, but I didn't. It didn't elicit the response that I wanted. Not that I wanted, but that I fully expected. Right. Um, all this to say, it worked, and we did date, and we learned a lot about each other. We learned that
Mm-hmm.
we were not meant to be. She's not the one.
Yep.
But it's a lesson that you can put so much time and effort and passion into the start of a relationship, and it's okay when it doesn't work out because sometimes you just need to learn and grow from that situation. All this to say,
Yep.
I don't do Valentine's Day. That was probably one of the only Valentine's Day I had done in like 10 years. I just thought like, oh, it's perfect. Like we're in the same setting.
Yeah.
This would be cute. That was one of the times where I diverged from like who I was as a person as far as understanding and like celebrating things like that. Because I'm the kind of person that makes
Mm-hmm.
the excuses like you should celebrate that person all the time, every year, every day should be Valentine's Day. I'm that person.
Mm-hmm.
But the one time I decided to reach out and do a little bit something different from who I was, it wasn't met with the same intensity expression, which I'm okay with, because I think it's something that we learn. All right, Aura, I've got a couple more for you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think which one we should go to after that. Maybe
Oh
the
my
story.
gosh. Honestly, like, I feel like I'm that type of person. Like, usually, like, I'm not like too materialistic. So like when somebody gives me a gift, I will be like, oh, okay, thank you. But like, especially for like anniversaries or like okay, birthday is like a different thing, but like anniversaries or like friendships and like things like that, like just like a random gift, I will be surprised. But like, you know how like people are so moved and like blah blah blah, like the entire, like the whole thing, like I just can't do it, because I'm like, okay, like it's a gift, I appreciate you, I love you, all that stuff, but I won't like.
So what you're saying is your love
go out
language
of,
is
I don't
not
know,
gifts. Love languages. All right.
No, it is. It is.
Depends
Like,
on the context and time, I suppose.
Like I won't be like too. Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
Yeah,
that kind of
know.
reinforces this idea that love languages are a spectrum of experiences, right? Where it's not like this strictly defined thing,
exactly.
like you are like 100% on the gifts or acts of service scale. It's like, no, like we all kind of love those things in different ways at different times in different contexts from different people. And it really just matters how you align with someone. All right, so I've got 3 things left. We're gonna kind of go through it a little bit rapid fire. You know, but if you have stories, feel free. We can go a little long. All right, so my next question for you is the friend zone a real thing?
Yes.
Explain. Elaborate.
It's like, I feel like when somebody is not like attracted to you like that, and then you tell them that they're not attracted to you, or when you tell them that I'm not attracted to you like that, it changes things, and the other person definitely feels uncomfortable, and it takes some time. And if the other person doesn't get accustomed, they just move out of the friend zone to the no friend zone. I don't know how else to explain it other than that.
I have a very a psychology research type of answer. Very like research methods type of answer. It's probably going to infuriate a number of people, and I'm okay with it. The friend zone is relative. And what I mean by that is I don't think dating itself is simply a matter of just asserting yourself. I think oftentimes people think the friend zone is the place that you're in when you share affections for someone that don't get reciprocated, but they like having you around. Which, yeah, like that is a version of the friend zone. But it could also be that 2 people get to know each other. One person believes, oh, I really like spending time with you as a friend. The other person develops attraction immediately, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that at any point of you getting to know that person or having that person in your life over the next year, the next 5 years, next 10 years, that flips, because attraction can develop over time. So to me, the friend zone is this artificial place that the hurt person likes to live in. Right? Which, again, it doesn't mean that it's not real or that it exists or doesn't exist. It's this idea that I think a lot of times it's framed as I'm in the friend zone because this person doesn't like me, but I like them, and that they're just, they just keep me around, which may be the case, but I think it's less malicious than that. And I think it's just a matter of 2 people being misaligned with their relationship goals. I think that is ultimately what the friend zone is to me. What are your thoughts? What are your retorts? Do you feel any kind of way? Do you feel differently from how I explained that to you? I think we lost you for a minute, Ara.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like my internet is not working that great today. Let me just switch to data.
No worries. Well, let me ask you kind of to wrap up the friend zone question. Do you feel like the friend zone is something that is malleable, that can be, traveled back and forth through? Or is the friend zone something fairly fixed that once you feel like one person is in it, that's it?
Okay, so for me, I feel like physical attraction plays a role into my relationships. And so if I know that like I am physically attracted to you, but right now like I'm not like emotionally attached, or I'm not like I don't feel the same vibes like I don't like feel like good vibes from you. I would say that like there's potential there, but if I'm not physically attracted to you, then I don't see a point.
Yeah, that is a good place to start, right? Because I think, as much as we like to think or say that, it's all about personality, it's all about how we think about that person. Well, it also starts with attraction, and attraction can mean something different to everyone. It's not like this fixed idea that we were presented in media, where we have like these gorgeous human beings. I mean, we're in a K-pop community, a server, where we're seeing like these 1 percentile attractive people of Korea, and we're pining over them. So of course, to put that as the standard of what we think normal people should look like seems a little unrealistic. But I think attraction does matter in, are they attractive to you, right? And everyone has that defined a little bit differently. Yeah, no, that's that's a good spot. That's a good spot to think about with the friend zone aura. All right, my next one for you. How do you get to know someone for the purposes of being in a partnered, finding a partner and being in a relationship?
I guess go on dates. I don't know. You're asking the wrong person.
Well, what are the assets or aspects of communication that allow you to get to know someone that you look for when you're going on dates, trying to find your partner?
I feel like it's definitely like just having like good conversations. Also like not like, yes, I get it. Like you also want to have a private life, but me as a person, I like usually like when I get uncomfortable and when somebody else is not talking, I tend to overshare a lot. And so to find that right balance of like, yeah, I am talking, but I'm talking enough that the other person is also talking and I get to know about their life as well. So I feel like just reaching that balance and knowing that the person is not ignoring you. Like, yeah. I don't know, like it's more like
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
I do want to build off of that. So this idea of not being ignored, right? Or at least not feeling ignored. To me, so this all ties into like getting to know someone, right? Those are kind of the indicators that I look for when I'm talking to someone new, and I'm trying to build that relationship, whether that's a friendship or that's a romantic partner. And it's, what are my excitement levels to want to talk to this person, whether that's sending a text message or getting on the phone with them or setting up a time to hang out. What is my level of engagement to want to be in that person's presence? And I think I think getting to know someone answers that question, right? Like if I'm really excited to just look at my phone and say like, oh, I got a message from that person, then that's a good indicator that at least it's the start of some form of attraction, right? To kind of build off, to add on to that more, it's this idea of reciprocity, right? Where if I feel this way, my hope is that the other person also feels this way. And it's the quality of the type of communication that we have for each other, right? I like to frame this in this very I hate to sound like a psychology like professor here, but it's this idea of keeping high standards for yourself of what you want out of a person, but being flexible and managing expectations, right? So
Yes, exactly.
an example that I have is my high standards of communication for someone, right? So my standard is I want the quality of the time that we spend together, either talking or making plans to talk, or the type of message that you send me in return to be a very high standard where it meets kind of my emotional needs, my intellectual needs, just my needs to have you in my life kind of thing, right? It's very roughly defined. Like I won't go into too much detail, but my expectation is if you're the kind of person who, it takes 2 days to reply to a message, that's okay. As long as you give a really good detailed response and you're excited to return to the space that we're in when you're ready, right? So my standard is high quality communication, but I also don't need you to communicate all the time. Like I understand if you can only give me high quality communication once every other day, once every 3 days, but there is that kind of understanding, either initially or that you build up to, that I feel like is a nice balance between this idea of a high standard, which you should absolutely have when you're looking for a partner, but also managing that expectation and saying, I know that you can only give this much, so it's okay that you can give this much within the context of what you can give. And I hope that's reciprocated.
I think that makes sense. I was just going to say, like, that is also like relative to, I guess, your age as well. Like, so for example, like if you're a student and like if your other like significant other is also a student, like, yeah, you may be busy with studying and like whatever you have going on. But I feel like nowadays, like everyone has their phone in their hand, right? Like, so like just having that one, like just one message saying that like, okay, I'm busy, maybe I won't be able to reply for the rest of the day is like very important to me. Knowing that,
just
like,
a heads up, right?
Yes, like I am thinking about you, or like I want to think about you, but I am a little busy right now and I can't talk to you. Like that type of thing is very, very important to me, just because I feel like it's just, it doesn't like don't leave me hanging is my main concern.
Yeah. It goes to the quality, right? The quality of the communication, the quality of that moment you share with that person, right? And I feel like that's a very high quality, low effort thing to do. So it's one of those where it's like, I'm not asking you to write like an essay of like what exactly you're doing that day, but I'd like to know, like, hey, like, I sent you a text message like 13 hours ago. What's up?
Yep, exactly.
Right.
And especially like if you're like communicating on like on social media or anything, and then like, yeah, you're not replying to my messages, but you're posting on social media. So like, I mean, am I not important to you? Like, do you not consider me at least a little bit important to like let me know that you're busy? Is just, that's one of my biggest pet peeves when I'm talking to someone, or like anything like that.
It is a very Gen Z millennial technology.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Like,
no, it's relevant. It's honestly, even older millennials who are 40, who consider themselves millennials, go through this. I speak from the perspective of a 90-year-old, and I can tell you, even senior citizens go through this. No, it is very curious when someone gives off this idea that they're very busy. And okay, to understand, I can be understanding. Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
And then there are indicators that they are not too busy to do this. Instead of sending you a quick 3-word thing, say, "Hey, talk later."
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely, like, if you're like in the early stages of talking or whatever you are in that relationship, I get it, you don't have any expectations, but like after like you tell someone that you like them, or like you can clearly see it's going somewhere, and then they do this, it hurts you.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into my last question for you, Ara. So, we just talked about this idea of communication and what we're looking for in a partner over time, right? And, the start of relationships is very passionate. It's the honeymoon phase.
Yep.
What do you think, and how do you think a couple should transition from the honeymoon phase to the later stages in the romantic relationship. What do you look for as far as that transitional period when you've settled down, you're no longer hyperactive about wanting to be around each other, but you still love each other? You know, what are some of the indicators for you that shows growth in a relationship at that point?
I think that just really means that, like, you don't, at that point, like, you don't need to text throughout the day because you already know, like, what their daily life schedule is. And then, like, towards the end of the day, like, you either text or you call to, like, update each other, like, just, like, share, like, small things that happen to you throughout the day. And I think that is just, like, such a good indicator that, like, yeah, you have open communication and you're comfortable with each other enough that you don't need to go about, like, texting through the entire day and being worried. I think that makes, I don't know if that makes sense, but also, like, a honeymoon, like, I feel like a honeymoon phase is just so different for each person or, like, each relationship, that some relationships can just start off with, like, you know, like, you're so comfortable with each other that, like, you don't constantly feel the urge to message them all day, like, that type of thing. So maybe some relationships don't even start off with the honeymoon phase.
No, that's a good point that you make about, you know, being comfortable with that person to the point where you understand each other's, like, routines, right? That you have been in each other's lives enough where a lot of it goes unspoken and unsaid, which is the ideal hope, right? Where you get to know someone so well that you no longer, that you can start to assume things in a positive way with positive outcomes. I bring this one up because they talked about this at the end of the Dive Studios episode about the question from Reddit of, you know, what happens when you're no longer in the honeymoon phase, when you're kind of just, you know, there and you're not, like, showing affection the same way. And this is something I've learned in school. I've learned in different aspects of relationship psychology. And this is transition from passionate love to companionate love. So you know, you start off, you know, very high passion, high energy. You want to be around that person. You want to show affection in hundreds of ways. I think the example that they gave on Dive Studios episode was that the person would write notes to them, leave them in, like, the mornings. So, like, I'm so happy to have you in my life. And then, like, leave notes for them throughout the day and just, like, you know, like, say all these things, like, have a lot of these air quotes words of affirmation throughout the day, which, again, if you're going off of those standards, bless you, sure. But then what happens when that fades? Because we all get into this sense of this state of homeostasis where everything is normalized. The excitement I get from writing a note no longer hits that stimulation. So I kind of assume that it's okay to just, you know, be around that person and that should be enough. And that is this transition to companionate love, where you're just in the presence of that person with this mutual understanding of love. But sometimes you don't get there at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that was the issue in the episode, right? Where the girl specifically did not understand why the guy was no longer showing affection that same way. For me, my approach, my solution, I suppose, the thing that I think about as far as getting to that transition period, again, it all falls back on communication. How do you ease into going from passionate love to companionate love? And it's talking it out throughout that time. Maybe not specifically talking it out, like, oh, like, one day, like, these notes are going to stop. But it's this idea that you're talking about little things here and there, so then they don't build up. So then when you do have this problem, you don't have to write to 4 K-pop idols on a podcast. You can actually just talk it out with the person you're in a relationship with. Not to say that you shouldn't, because I think it makes for great stories, great content. Thank you. Please do that. You know, if anyone has stories that they want to share, please send it to us. Put it in the server, in the community content channel. But yeah, it's this idea of a sustained long-term communication, so that when you do have issues, when you do have bumps in the road, you can actually address them. Easier said than done. I get it.
Yeah, I know.
But it's good. It's the word, not practice. It's a good routine. It's good habits to form. And I think that's where it ultimately begins.
Yep. And I think like having like set expectations, or like so right now for me, like I think communication is like the biggest issue for me. Like even before I get into a relationship, I think I definitely need to improve on my communication before I get into a relationship, so it doesn't affect my relationship. So I think just knowing what types of problems you may encounter in your relationship and trying to solve them beforehand, or just letting the other person know that like these are things I'm struggling with right now and I'm trying to improve, is such a big thing.
Yeah, no, I think we're all striving to improve ourselves, right? I think it goes back to this idea, not back to this idea because we didn't mention this yet, but this idea that you shouldn't get into a relationship if you're looking for the other person to fix you.
Yes, exactly.
You should be working on yourself. If it so happens to align with the fact that you're in a relationship, that's okay. But have this understanding that it all starts from you, right? So if you've got things to work through, make sure the other person knows that you're working through it. They can help you, but you shouldn't expect them to fix you. So I think it all starts with this corny idea that it's all inner work. It's all about loving yourself. Thanks BTS. Again, we mentioned it like 10 times a show to love yourself, but you know it's very true. And you really do have to figure things out for yourself before you can truly commit to another person. Yeah, Ara. Thanks for joining. An amazing conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, we went all types of ways and
all types of deep where we did not plan to go, but it's fine.
This is great. This is the perfect Valentine's Day romance episode. So I appreciate you coming along for the ride and hanging out and
thank you for having me.
Sharing a lot of stories. That was pretty deep on your part. So thank you. All right, let's sign out. Thank you everyone for listening to the Soju Sessions on the Soju Talk Nation podcast feed. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and continue the conversation on the Soju Talk K-pop podcast Discord. For Ara, this is Crispy. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And this has been the Soju Sessions.